Okay, so that's the first part then, Cavall, the thriller. Going to take quite a turn now in tone to the second part, which has been described as a comedy, but as I said in my introduction, I consider it more of a farce than sort of a more standard comedy, which is Un couple épatant, or in English, An Amazing Couple. So, Scott, what is that one all about?
Yes, as you say, it does take a very different tone, of course, and with a mostly different cast as well. Patent lawyer Alan Coste, played by Francois Morel, is trying to keep a secret from his wife Cecile, Ornella Muti, that being that he needs to have a minor operation to deal with his tennis elbow. Unfortunately for Elaine, he's one of life's warriors and he's starring in a farce. So, as Elaine starts ratcheting up his paranoia levels, his behaviour grows increasingly erratic, leading to Cecile to ask Gilbert Melky's Police Inspector Pascal Manez to snoop around to find out what's going on. Now, noticing this, naturally, fuels Alan's delusions, leading to a number of flights of fancy where his condition is much more serious than is being told, and also that everyone, in particular his family, are out to get him, with perhaps the exception of his long-suffering PA, Claire, played by Valérie Maurice. Now, meanwhile, Pascal is running his own scheme, for reasons better explained in the third film of this cycle, and proves to be an unreliable source of information in an effort to woo Cecile. Now, that's skipping over an awful lot of the detail, partly because it's not important to give you the setup, and partly because that's where the bulk of the comedy lies, and it is often quite funny indeed, with a really great comic turn from Francois Morel at the heart of it. Now, if it has a weakness, it's in the main coming from its interactions between Pascal and Cecile, which often feel like they belong in a different film, because, well, they do.
Different film, yes.
That, however, is part of the point of the experiment, so I suppose I can't really get too hung up with it, but it's the one element where the wider story makes for a weaker individual film. Regardless, I liked this film very much at the time, and I'm gratified to find out that I like it just as much now. It's perhaps the easiest to recommend out of all these films, if for some reason you were limiting yourself to one, but again, that's rather against the point of the exercise. But yes, this is a really entertaining and really great little comedy, and I think it works really well, and yes, heartily enjoyed revisiting it this time.
Yeah, this is the one that works best as a standalone, I think, because it is in so many ways so detached from the other stories.
Exactly, yes.
That's why it also works the least well as part of the trilogy.
Yes.
It almost feels like it's taking part in a different universe.
Yes.
The other parts are so much more peripheral in this, whereas the first and third parts are really quite closely intertwined.
Yeah.
Intertwined, but this part is so different. I mean, there are bits and pieces, but it's just such an absurd film, and farce can be such a difficult thing to get right. At least Fawlty Towers is pretty much a farce, and I love it. It's so incredibly fun. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. There's a reason that programme is so beloved, not by everybody, of course, but it's really enduring. Whereas you have, it's my favourite horse to beat for bad farces, Death at a Funeral.
Yeah.
Which is just, wouldn't it be weird if this happened? Yeah, no. You forgot to put any comedy in that. It's a particular type of comedy that is difficult to nail. This one manages it. And again, I don't quite know how, because you've got a central character who has decided that he's a target for the mafia. And that his doctor's in it. That's stupid. It's really, really stupid. It works because is it Francois Morel?
Yeah.
Francois Morel is he plays it so well. I mean, he's got a good comic face. I think that helps. But he's just playing it so well. And I mean, if this was another type of film, it would drive me crazy. Because I think I mentioned in my introduction that one of these people is like a tremendous idiot. The person I'm talking about is Cecile, Ornella Muti's character, because apparently, I'm not quite sure how many British Racing Green Classic 1950s Jaguars there are in Grenoble, but I'm suspecting it's not many. And particularly one that's missing a headlight and has an entirely missing front wing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many of them there would be, and when there's one of those parked across the street from her when she's, I think she's alone with the police officer, but doesn't notice it, I think this person's an idiot.
Yes.
Yeah, within the genre of this film, it works. It's just so ridiculous. It's really entertaining. And I'm not sure what else to say about it. It's genuinely funny. Francois Morel is a ridiculous character. Francois Morel's character rather is ridiculous. I don't know him well enough to know if he's a ridiculous character also. But it's to go from, he goes for a fairly routine check to the doctor to believing that he's a target for the mafia and that they're trying to kill him, via a sort of eventually to a drug trip where he's lying asleep in the middle of the French summer in a cornfield. Yes. It shouldn't work anywhere near as well as it does, but it really is entertaining. Yeah,
really great turn from Morel. He does. It's one of the best straight man performances I've seen in a long time, because he plays it completely straight all the way throughout. He doesn't let that. It doesn't wink at the camera at any point. It's just all played completely straight, and it works incredibly well. Really good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's because it is a farce. You have to buy into that quite quickly. It's like none of the stuff makes sense. Like, why is Claire's boyfriend willingly allowing himself to be tied up? Because he doesn't seem to be complaining at any point, and she's going along with it. Like, okay, then you're going along with it, so will I.
Yes.
She does really well in it too, actually, I think.
Oh, yes,
Claire.
yes.
It's kind of a straight performance with sort of a hint of exasperation.
Yeah.
But she, again, it's a fairly tricky one to pitch just right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a really enjoyable film. I think it's, as for this experiment, it's not so much that it's not successful, it's just it's the least essential part of it. It's because it doesn't really tie in more than inconsequentially, I guess, really, with the rest of the stuff.
Yes, I would say in terms of this, and we'll maybe talk more about it in the kind of wrap-up, but there is a real case to be made for this would simply be a better film if it was not part of this trilogy. And there's a certain degree of interconnectedness between Afterlife and On the Run that makes sense for it to be part of this experiment, and I think that cannot be said for An Amazing Couple. I think this would be simply a better film if it was not part of this, if it didn't have to deal with the baggage that came with having these other scenes installed, because they do feel like they're from a different film, as I say, because, well, they are. They're different in tone, different in style, and it's a bit of a break in the flow of the film, and that's a slight problem. It is to its credit that it is not more of a problem. It's not really enough to get my sort of panties in a bunch about it, but it is. I think it is pretty clear that it would be a better film if it didn't have to do those things.
Yeah, I mean, it's because the idea behind Trilogie is interesting, and it's trying to, like, the different perspectives, the intertwining stories, and the idea of, like, peripheral characters being the main characters in their own story.
Yeah.
And that's all good. And the idea of the different genres, that's good. Comedy's always going to be the one that's difficult to fit with the other two, because the first film's about a terrorist.
Yes.
I mean, and you can do comedies about terrorists. I Witness 4 Lions, which is phenomenal. But the way that's done, so you can't have your comedy section basically have anything to do with the terror section.
Yes.
It isn't going to work when you've sort of set your terrorist bit as the thriller. So yes, it's amazing that it works at all.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether comedy was actually the best choice for one of the three genres that Luca Belvaux tried here. That's it again. It's a very entertaining film, so I'll take it.
Yes.
And as I said already in this podcast, not really seen anything else like this, trying this sort of thing. So yeah, so there's not really anything to base it on, or to say, oh, these other people did this didn't work, I'll try it this way. It's like, there's not really much else like this.
Yes, it's not been done better or worse or at all.
It's not been done.
Yes.
For the most part.